It's the 60s. Love is free, Fortunate Son is written, and Ford is pissed.
Because the Ford Mark IV, which one?
I do the course.
Similar to those used in stock cars in the NASCAR circuit.
Picture this. It's 1961 and Ferrari has officially run out of money. Due to mounting F1 racing costs and less profit than expected on its road cars, Ferrari is forced to sell out. Luckily, however, there is one interested party: Ford. Ford, wanting to bring more quality and value to its name, looked to invest in racing. And what better way to do it than buying the best racing team in the world? Ferrari. So they bought Ferrari and they all lived happily ever after. Nope. Right as the deal was about to be signed, an infuriated Enzo Ferrari stormed the room, apparently not being told his race team was part of the deal and that once signed they couldn't take part in the illustrious Indy 500. Ferrari screamed at the top of his voice to Ford's lawyers, "My cars will never be made by Ford Automakers." And that was it. The deal was off. Now, in order this got back to Henry Ford II, or the Deuce as he's been called, he was pissed. He immediately called upon his best and brightest engineers and gave them a blank check with one statement: go to Lemans, beat Ferrari. Just like that, they got to work. First up, the car. After undergoing rigorous negotiations with Lotus and Cooper cars, Ford eventually went with Lola on the chassis, as Lola had been running Ford's engine in this chassis for a couple of years now, but naturally seemed to be the best fit. Assigning Harley Kopp as production manager for the chassis, production was underway. And on March 13th of 1963, teams began receiving delivery of their own Ford GT40s for only €5,200. Powered by the same 4.7-liter V8 that would eventually win Ford the Indianapolis 500 a few years later, this baby was ready to hit the track until it wasn't. As a matter of fact, they didn't as much as cross the finish line once the entire 1964 season, which meant one thing: it was time for a change. What change? Godfather, the Shelby Cobra, Daytona, and Mustang, the man, the myth, the legend, the Texan chicken farmer, Carroll freaking Shelby. And they changed everything, which immediately panned out, with the Shelby modded GT taking the W at its first attempt at the 2,000 kilometers of Daytona. However, the rest of the season didn't go over that well. But nevertheless, it was a hell of a step in the right direction from not finishing a single race the year prior. But it was to be on that fateful day of 1966 that Henry Ford would at long last taste the champagne of victory. And it was to be in the form of one of the greatest conquests in the history of racing. Against all odds, the GTs took the lead straight away and never looked back. And when the clock struck 24, there were 3 Fords on the podium. However, in terms of the drivers, the finish was actually a bit flawed. Ford wanted to have a photo finish, so naturally they had their first 2 leading cars slow down and allow the 3rd car to catch up. Well, the leading car, which everyone thought had won, had actually done less total distance than the car behind it. And by allowing the 2nd place car to catch up, this meant the guys who finished 2nd actually won the race, which led to a few furious drivers, and Ken Miles losing the race. Sadly, he would never get his chance at redemption as he died the next year testing Ford's GT Mark IV J-Car. But at that moment in time, none of it mattered. Henry Ford the Deuce had done it. He had proven to Ferrari and the world that Ford had what it took to compete at the highest levels of motorsports. So that's all fine and good. They got the W, time to pack up and head home, right? Wrong again! An attempt to prove the win was no fluke, and to further the wound to Ferrari, Ford decided to go at it one more time in 1967. This time, though, they were going to assemble a team of all-American drivers to make the victory an all-American. Over in Italy, however, Ferrari had other plans. Plans that came in the form of the P4. Ferrari's strike back at Ford for what they'd done in '66. And it was ready to return the throne to the men in red. But you see, there was a storm brewing in Texas as well, in the form of the lightning-quick Ford Mark IV. As well as being my favorite looking car of all time, the Mark IV was completely redesigned. It was wind tunnel tested. The chassis was all new, ready for anything Ferrari had put together against it. And when the dust settled, Ford yet again reigned supreme, with the one remaining GT40 in the race taking the '67 Le Mans victory. And on top of that, it was the All-American drivers that did it, A.J. Foyt and Dan Gurney, an event so storied and remembered in time. It was actually where Dan Gurney invented spraying champagne after the race, as headlines called in the champagne wasters in weeks to follow. And so proving once and for all that Americans could compete in even the greatest cathedrals of racing. As always, hope you guys liked the video. My name is Nathan Burke. This is Road Raid. If you liked it, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe.